What up, guys, and welcome back to Behind the Balance, where we talk about all things health, fitness, lifestyle, relationships, etc. You name it, we talk about it. I'm your host, BalancingClaire, and I have some exciting news. Today we're here with special guest, Caleb Armstrong, my husband.
First guest on the show. What a privilege.
First guest on Behind the Balance. I had to bring on the most important person to me. So here we are with my husband, Caleb Armstrong. So today we're going to be talking about not relationships in general, but I'm going to give you more behind the scenes of how me and Caleb came about, because it really is, well, to me, it's a great story.
It is a cool story.
Yeah, it's pretty.
All your friends love whenever you tell the story.
Yeah. I remember telling... you'll meet Maria later, but Maria came into my life after Caleb. I think I've only been knowing Maria for a year and a half maybe, and she came in after Caleb, so she only knew us kind of like as married. And when I told her the full story, she was like, wow, I feel like I should be eating popcorn. She's like, this is interesting.
It's a true underdog story.
It really is. And we always give people the short version. We're always like, oh, it was one of those friend zone stories, but really it was just a lot more.
Like the ultimate friend zone story.
Yeah, Caleb. I have to give Caleb that one. Like, okay, you'll see. So we're going to take you through our storyline. We're going to talk about a few things that happened along the way that were just not particularly have to do with our relationship, but they kind of like made us who we are today. So without further ado, I think that's all I got to say. Let's get started.
All right, so we start in what?
Let's start it off. Let's let Caleb start it off. I just love this story. Started off with campus where.
Yeah. Okay, so on our notes right here we have it started in November 2017, but it really started a lot, earlier than that. So I guess it was probably November 2016, like a whole year earlier. It was freshman fall.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, we graduated high school May 2016, both of us. He graduated from...
Washita Parish High School.
I drew a blank. Washita Parish High School in Monroe, or Swartz, whatever you want to call it. And I graduated from North Vermilion here in Maurice. So, our first semester of college.
Yeah, our first semester. We're both new athletes at UL. And I had a design elective that I really didn't enjoy. I had a really cool professor, but...
He was on my side of town.
Yeah, I was way on the other side of campus, and I definitely was where I didn't belong. I was the only dude in the whole building that had boots and jeans on. Everyone else was not wearing what I would ever wear in my life.
I'm really shocked I didn't notice, actually.
Yeah. But anyways, so I was walking to class. I was walking on my design class one day, and I was actually dating somebody else at the time. But, like, you know how, like, every now and then you see somebody and you're like, whoa, like, they just kind of catch your eye. So, anyways.
Okay, let's not admit that when you're in a relationship with someone, you don't see someone else and go, holy,
No, you do.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah. You see like, you can be in a relationship and still see other people and be like, whoa, who's that?
Correct.
Like, it's totally cool. Mm-hmm. So, anyways, I saw Claire, who I didn't even know was Claire at the time, and she was just walking to class, and I noticed she had very nice legs and very unique hair. And I knew she was an athlete. She had a little name tag that all of us athletes had. And I was like, I wonder what she does. And I saw that she was a track athlete, so my first thought was, oh, she must be a sprinter. Well, couldn't have been further from the truth, because she's slow as molasses. But anyways.
It was the legs that said, oh, sprinter.
Yeah, it was very misleading. So anyways.
If you ever see me run, it looks like I'm pulling a plow.
Oh, yeah, 100%. So anyways, that's just the first time I ever noticed, and I was like, I don't think I've ever seen a girl that looks like that before, like, just very unique. And all my friends kind of say that about Claire, too, like, you just look like nobody else. And I'm not being biased saying, like, you're the most beautiful woman in the world or nothing like that. I'm just, like, I've never seen anyone else and been like, oh, that looks like Claire. Like, Claire just looks like Claire. So anyways, noticed her that day, kind of just in one ear and out the other, if you will. And Fast forward a year later.
A year later. Let's put that. Okay.
Yeah.
A year,
whole year
later. Okay.
And I don't think I ever saw Claire again for that whole 12 months. Just saw her that one time on campus. Year later, and ran into Claire in a student athlete advisory committee meeting, which I'll let Claire tell you about. And I was now single and really wasn't trying to make a move, but this is the first time that we ever made contact.
So Student Athletic Advisory Committee is exactly what it sounds. The best way I can explain it is it's student council, just like high school, but for all athletes at the university. So our coaches, so Coach Robe nominated Caleb to represent the baseball team. Coach Lon nominated me to represent the track team. And you have a few people from each team, but we just so happened to be on SAC at the same time. I'm guessing, well, he did tell me this. He did tell me that he saw me at a SAG meeting before, and he was like, oh, that's the girl. That's the girl I saw.
Yeah, yeah.
And then I didn't notice him until, same situation as him. I was just getting out of a relationship, not looking for anyone, so really didn't notice him until one day. This is how I remember the story. I'll let him say it differently if he remembers it differently. You sign in on paper. He handed me the paper. He's like, hey, do you need this to sign in? First words he ever spoke to me. And I can still see it in my head because I feel like I see things in my head, and I could still see him kind of being like kind of nervous. But he was like, and I was like, no, I'm good. I signed in already. Okay. They feed us at these dinners. It's like on a buffet table when you walk in the front. So I just so happened to be behind him in line, and we're having tacos from Izzo's. And at this time, you'll learn this later, at this time I was 100% vegan. So I'm making me like a salad, and he's going first. So he takes like the tongs from the steak, and he was like trying to be nice and like handing them to me. And he was like, hey, do you need these? I'm like, no, I'm good. Thank you though.
I don't even think I asked you. I think I just like made mine and like just kind of made a gesture like to hand them to you instead of putting them back down. And you were like, no, I'm good. And I was like, I guess you don't want a steak. So I grabbed the chicken. I'm making one steak taco and one chicken taco like a normal like human being. Yes. And so I grabbed the chicken, make my chicken taco, thinking, okay, she just likes chicken. Make another gesture, and she was like, no, I'm actually good. And I was like, there's no other meat on the table. And I'm like, okay, this is a weird girl. So
weird girl eating lettuce. I probably was eating straight lettuce and tomatoes because I didn't eat cheese either. Anyway, that was our first words.
Yeah, first contact.
Yeah, and it's very, very vague in our minds, I think. Okay, so let's go to, that was in, Caleb wrote down all these notes, and I can't even read his
November
handwriting.
2017, and then later that same month was when we like had substantial contact at Target, and now I was trying to make a move.
Substantial. Did y'all hear that word? Substantial contact.
It's not as big a word as you're trying to make it seem.
This is so funny to me. Substantial. Okay, so I'm going to tell this story. So we just get to Target, and what we do is, long story short, we're buying gifts for parents who can't afford gifts for we pick a family every year, student athletes, and we buy gifts for the children, and we deliver it to their house, and it's for them for Christmas. They love it. It's really, really cool thing that UL Athletics does. So we get to Target, and our advisor is like, okay, everybody pair up. We pair up, and I had made a friend on the baseball team, and he had just so happened been really close to Caleb. And so I had shopped with him the whole time, and I think this is how it started. He liked Star Wars, the friend that I was shopping with, not Caleb. He liked Star Wars, so we got this little boy Star Wars slippers. I'm pretty sure that's what we got.
Something to do with Star Wars.
Something to do. And we had checked out. I saw Caleb at the end of my checkout line. He was right there with his empty basket, and I was checking out, like putting things on the conveyor belt. And I started pushing my basket to go save it up. And he was like, I got it. Like, I'll save it for you. And being the hard person I was like, no, I got it. Like, I knew he was trying to do a nice thing for me, but like my hard head was just like, nah, I can save my own basket. But what I didn't realize is that when I saved my own basket, I had to walk with you like the whole way. So we ended up walking with our two empty baskets going to save them, and Caleb goes, so, you like Star Wars? Had never seen a Star Wars movie in my life.
That was my first line. That's how I got her, guys. Mm-hmm. I said, so you like Star Wars, and the rest was history.
Okay. You'll find out.
Anyways, so yeah, I said, so you like Star Wars? And she looked at me like I was an idiot and was like, actually, I've never seen any of them. And I was like, oh, well, I noticed the slippers, so I just kind of assumed. And, I'm trying to make my move, and if she would have liked Star Wars, the rest really would have been history, because I am a huge Star Wars fan and nerd.
And I am now.
Yeah, she is now, but unfortunately she wasn't back then. So I had to keep asking questions. And look, if you knew me back then, I wasn't very good at talking to girls, didn't really have much experience normally. Like, in high school it kind of came easy because you're like the man in high school and everything, but
now at this time he stutters.
Yeah, I was stuttering a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. Anyways, so I think I asked her what she was studying in school, and she told me I'm in interior design. And I said, okay, so what do you want to do? I don't know anything about interior design.
Did you say, what do you want to do, or what do you want to be?
No, yeah, I said, what do you want to do? Because you said you were studying interior design. I said, okay, well, what do you want to do? And you were like, an interior designer? And you looked at me like I had 4 eyes. And I was like, I could tell she was being a smart aleck, but I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know anything about design.
Just trying to get you off my back.
Here I am.
So I'll never forget that. That was like the short story. I'll walk out, and the first thing I do is call my best friend. I was like, listen to this, dude. What's your major? Interior design? Oh, what you want to do? I was like, interior designer. It was so funny.
So anyways, yeah, I fumbled the bag on that run in. And then a couple months later is what?
So that
Starbucks.
night he adds me on Instagram and Snapchat, and we start snapping, just like total friends. And then January of 2018, we looked back in the camera roll and in my journal so we can get these dates right. And I have written down January of 2018. I said, I guess I'm going on a date with Caleb Armstrong. He's on the baseball team. He asked me to go get a coffee, so I met him at Starbucks. So that was a good first move, saying,
fellas, let me let you know something right now. If you really want a girl to say yes to a date with you, even if you don't have a chance, buy her a coffee. Yeah. It's a power move. Like, you're never going to get turned down. You'll at least get a chance.
I remember getting out of my car. I pull out. I was like, let's see how this is going to be. I walk into the parking lot. He's standing there. He doesn't say hey or anything or hug me. He says, I have a gift card.
Yeah, I'd gotten a gift card for Christmas, I think, so it was like perfect. And I was not gonna. Back then, I wasn't a coffee drinker, so I definitely wasn't going to Starbucks. And I was like, "Oh, this is perfect."
Yeah. So we went to Starbucks, and then the conversation must have went well. We must have had a good time because I had things to do at Fletcher Hall in Lafayette. So the design hall, I had work to do. The semester had just started, so I asked him if he wanted to come with me, which is pretty big deal. I must have had a good time because he got in my car, he helped me unload some things, and we set up my desk at Fletcher. That was our first thing we did together in person. And then
we had lunch at Panera Bread the next day.
Literally the next day. I remember that.
I asked her to go to lunch. She said yes. So at this point, she's having a ball with me.
Oh, God.
I'm moving in the right direction.
Oh, God. Okay, we're still in January of 2018.
All right. And then probably a week or two later at class, I'm walking in the hall, and I passed her in the hallway, and I never passed you. I don't know why I passed you that day of all days.
Yeah, that was weird.
Anyways, I saw her, and I was like, hey. She was like, hey. And I said, what's up? And she was like, going to class. And I was like, oh, what are you doing? And I was like, oh.
It was like, oh, where are you going? And I was like, class. And he was like, which one? And I was like, oh, this dude is struggling.
I was fumbling the bag and hard.
And we were in the middle of the hall. People were passing, and his hands. He was like, "Okay, well, I'll snap you." Or he said something.
It was not my best performance. I'll be honest.
It was at
I've
the bottom
had better
of the
performances
bottom of the
than that. Yeah. But so anyway, I Snapchatted her right after, as soon as we got to class, and literally first snap I sent her was, "Well, I messed that up pretty bad, didn't I?" And at least I knew. You knew that I knew.
You lightened the ice when you did snap me, and you were like, "Oh, I messed that up." I was like, "Okay, at least he understands I was not good."
Yeah, I had to let you know I wasn't always that bad.
I'm glad.
You have good days, you have bad. Anyways, so after that, what was after that?
Our second season at the university.
Yeah, so this is when we're going to go into some athletic stuff.
Yeah. So basically we met through athletics. He was on the baseball team. He was a pitcher. Whoop, whoop.
Yeah.
And I threw javelin, for those who don't know. This was, I think looking at our notes, we kind of like slowed down hanging out right here because if you don't know about baseball, it takes up a lot of your time. I'm not going to say javelin does because it really doesn't, because it's a one-person sport. So at this time, it was March. Like, they were starting to have a lot of games. We were starting to travel a lot. So, but
we didn't even have time to hang out.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, baseball, you play like 4 or 5 games a week, you know, so it's kind of like you don't have time for anything but just baseball, a little bit of studying, and trying to eat.
But we both got injured our sophomore season. We both ended up having a medical red shirt March of 2018. I'll let Caleb talk about his injury.
So I had Tommy John in high school, my freshman year of high school, and I was getting recruited pretty heavily. I was throwing really hard in high school as a freshman. So I was getting a lot of attention, a lot of hype. And after I tore my arm the first time, I didn't really recover well. I think I actually had a deficient surgery. And just never really was the same after that. And then finally, my senior year, started getting some velocity back. Got a scholarship to UL, came to UL. Sophomore year, boom, tore my elbow again. And had to go back under the knife. So I had my second Tommy John in 2018 as a sophomore.
Do you remember what month you had it?
It had to be like
pretty
April,
soon after.
right.
Yeah, okay. And that same, I think around the same time, which we weren't talking a lot but around the same time I was throwing at Texas State, and I went for a throw and landed literally on the side of my foot and my ankle and that was pretty much it. I couldn't walk. I was on crutches. I was going to therapy and all this. I had a high ankle sprain, and a track season is super short. You have like 5 meets, maybe 4, and then there's conference, and then it's done. So I decided to take a medical red shirt that year and just swipe that season out. So March of 2018, we both had a medical red shirt. And then if he had surgery in March, I was probably just getting off of crutches and stuff, and we kind of started hanging out again because I wasn't.
Time.
Yeah, he wasn't traveling. He couldn't really. He could work out lower body, and I could work out upper body, but you end up having way more time. So April 2018, it started back up again. We had coffee at Zoo House. We did a little studying together. And then I have here in my notes, May of 2018, I think was when I kind of started like letting him flirt with me. I remember like
as if I had to ask permission.
I said that in the wrong way. I said like maybe I like gave
let me
in
tell
a
you
little
what
bit.
she really needs to be saying. She started teasing me and kind of flirting back. That's what she was trying to not say, but that's what was happening.
Okay. Not a bad person here. I was just a mess. Like, I was a mess.
You loved attention. Just say, look, all the girls out there, and this is probably going to give me a lot of flack.
Yeah.
But look, girls love attention. It's one of their.
Caleb thinks he knows everything about the female
very
species.
Observant.
Oh, okay. All right.
I'm
Next.
just telling you, y'all love attention.
So, I don't know if I liked attention or if I just liked Caleb's attention, because I know he was a great guy.
It's just because I gave you the kind of attention you wanted.
Yeah. Whatever. Okay. So, that was in May. June, I started dating someone different. I was not ready to be in a relationship. I don't know what I was doing. I dated a guy for like 5-6 years. And then I met Caleb, yada, yada. And then I started talking to someone else that I knew before Caleb. That didn't last long, maybe about a month. And then after that kind of ended, it didn't last long. After that ended, Caleb started asking me to hang out again because at the time I remember talking to this dude and like not Snapchatting Caleb back and not texting him back.
Oh yeah, she ghosted me.
Well, what are you supposed to do? Talk to you at the same time?
I mean, just let me know.
Oh, well, yeah, I guess I didn't have the balls to straight up be like, look, I'm talking to someone else. Sorry. Because I knew it would hurt him. Like, I knew this. Anyway, I remember this night, like, it was all done with this other guy. And Caleb said, I started responding to him. And Caleb was like, you want to go eat? And he knew how to get me. He said, you want to go get boiled shrimp? And then we'll get Great American Cookie after. And what was like?
Coffee, food. The two best ways to get a girl to go on a date with you.
And for me, it was definitely cookies, the M&M one. Anyway, so I was like, I remember sitting outside with my mom and dad at this point. We just moved into a house, and they helped me outside, and I'm hanging in my little, what is it called? An Eno. I'm like, oh my God, this guy. He keeps on asking me to hang out, but he's a little weird, and he stutters, and I don't know. Like, I'm not sure if I like him, but I really kind of want to go eat. And my dad says this, I will never forget it, because I have talked to guys previous, and they're just like, I don't want to say this, but they're just like, they're typical, like, they know they're super attractive, like, you know that guy, and was my type of guy. Like, I think Caleb can admit it. I remember Caleb saying, like, you just like pretty boys. Like, anyway, I remember my dad saying, Claire, would you rather a guy say like the perfect lines and say everything you want to hear, but be saying that to like multiple girls, like he knows what he's doing? Or should you give the guy that like gets nervous around you and like doesn't quite know what to do, and he might be a little weird, but like he's only saying that to you because you make him nervous and he likes you? And I was like, oh, that's a great point. Dang it. So I went on the date.
Shout out to Kev.
Yeah. Shout out to my dad. Yeah.
Oh, cat.
So I think that was the start of a little something.
She started to open the door for me a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so that whole summer goes by, and we go back to school. And so every year at school, they have the welcome back convocation for all the athletes at First Baptist in Lafayette. And so we go to that, and we took a picture after, which was kind of like low-key, very low-key monumental, because we had never taken a picture together.
Ever. It is still my contact picture for Caleb.
Yeah. It was a big day. Mm-hmm. It was a W for the boys.
I remember sending it to him that night after I edited it, and he was like, I love it. And I was like, oh my God, he just said he loved it.
Put a W in the column for the boys.
Yeah, he said loved it, and I was like, oh, shoot.
So after that, we kept hanging out. We were really good friends. A couple months later, we go to the baseball team always had a pretty big throwdown for Halloween. Yeah. So the Halloween party
was the party to be at.
Yeah. If you were not at the UL baseball Halloween party, at least when I was there, you weren't. Yeah. You were not cool.
Yeah.
Like all the cool kids were there.
I remember this was my first one, and Caleb was like, you want to come with me? And I was like, oh my God, I get to go to the baseball Halloween party. And he wanted to dress alike. He was like, let's dress as a couple. And I shot that down real quick.
Didn't happen, but shoot or shoot.
Yeah, it's true. But the next year,
we'll get to that.
Yeah, okay. But we went to this party. I'm going to keep this story super short because it could be long. My girls got ready at the house with me. Caleb showed up with drinks for us. We were still in the bathroom. Anyway, we came out. We all got in an Uber. We went to the party.
Claire was trucked up.
It was a great night. I had a lot of fun.
She had a lot of tequila.
Caleb. I had a lot to. People were just coming up to me, giving me shots, and I was
my roommate.
Yeah, he knew what he was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you how drunk she was. At one point, she said, "Hey, can you go get me another drink?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I was like, "She's had way too much to drink." So I bring her back a cup, and it's literally water. And I'm like, "How's your drink?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, it's so good." And I was like, "Oh, thank God." That's how drunk she was.
I was having the time of my life.
But I ended up sleeping at your place that night. And it was like totally awkward because I was going to sleep on the couch and you felt really bad. And your two friends.
No, I didn't feel bad. Megan felt bad.
Okay. Well, shout out to Maggie D. You're a real one.
We had a love seat. Or like a settee. He was curled up on it. And Megan came into my room. I was about to sleep by myself in my nice bed. I was like, all right, I'm ready to go to bed. Meg was like, Claire, you cannot let him sleep on that little couch. You know how uncomfortable they are. I said, where the hell you want him to sleep? And she was like, with you. You don't have to do anything. She's like, just let him sleep in the bed. And I was like, no, not happening. She's like, Claire, I'm going to sleep with Savannah. You're going to walk in there and you're going to, like, he cannot sleep like that. I'm like, okay, whatever. So I did it. Walked in there. I said, Caleb, come on. I don't really remember, like, you.
No, I remember I was just like, no, I'm good. Because I knew better. Like, I knew it wasn't, I knew it wasn't no kind of big deal or nothing. And I was like, no, I'm good. I'm just going to sleep in here. Honestly, I was going to wake up early the next morning and just jet out of there. But he ended up sleeping in the bed. And I remember him taking off his shirt. And I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm sorry, I can't sleep without a shirt on. No shot I'm sleeping with a shirt on.
Yeah, he literally to this day, he cannot do it. So he took off his shirt, and I was wearing a nightgown. I remember wearing a nightgown. I remember getting out of bed, going in the closet, closing the door, putting on shorts and a T-shirt, and getting back in bed because I just couldn't do it. And then I remember waking up. There was a pillow in between us. I'm sure I did that. But this was the only thing that ever happened. We woke up. I remember that morning. I was just laying there, my back to him, thinking like, okay, like how do I get out? Because I've never done this. I was like, how do I get out of bed here? Like, how do I go about this? He rolls over, reaches over the pillow, and his fingertips like barely graze my side. Like he just barely puts his hand there, and that's literally it.
Shoot or shoot.
Shoot or shoot.
All right, so what happened after that?
My birthday rolled around, my 21st.
Went and ate with your family at Cajun Claws, which is like bomb crawfish, and I didn't want to be too much, so I ordered chicken tenders.
I remember that. I knew he loved crawfish.
My favorite meal.
I remember telling my mom, he loves it. He's not going to get it. He got chicken tenders. Anyway,
so
this was like...
You have in your notes, like, that's when you started liking me, though, so...
I think this is the first time, like, he met my sisters and, like, been... I mean, that was kind of a big deal. It was my birthday and I invited you to my family dinner. Like, that was a big deal to me. So I knew I'd liked him in some way and invited him to that. And,
That also marked the 1 year mark from when I talked to you at SAC.
Wow.
A whole year later,
this has happened. And I know he forgot this in the notes, but at this time, I remember him telling me, not this same day, but like a few weeks later, he texted me. He said, look, I'm going to have to back off. He was like, I can't talk to you as much. I can't hang out as much. Like, I like you too much. And, it's going nowhere for me, and I'm just hurt. I don't know exactly.
Yeah, well, you were kind of like, it was like, I don't know, it probably wasn't intentional, but like you were kind of leading me on, and like I kept getting my hopes up, and then it was like I would fall back into reality, and I would be like, oh, well, she's not going to date me, and then I would get my hopes up, and then I'd fall back into reality, and it was just kind of, okay, dude, I'm tired of these swings, so like we just got to cut it off. And
he knows this, so I'll just say it, but I was going through like, I was choosing, like I couldn't decide, like it sounds bad, but I couldn't decide who I wanted to be with. So I would just like, it's so bad. But that's why I wasn't totally like devoted to him, just because I was like still at a spot where I guess I wasn't ready. But we're good now. So he told me this, like he said, look, I'm done with your games. And I was like, wait, pause. Let's just try. Okay, let's try. Like I could like. When he told me that, I remember being like, oh my gosh, like he was my best friend. I don't think like he was, when someone else did me dirty, like when I lost a job or like anything that happened, I'd literally call Caleb crying. No one else.
We've come a long way in that 12 months.
Now that I'm hearing it, yeah. Because like he was, like I lost a job, called him first, like he picked me up. He like,
no, we were at the thing for SAC, and you just told me, and I just remember being like, okay, well, look, you were doing some kind of job or something at the SAC thing on campus.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember just, you were passing out something, I was like, okay, just give me these, go cool off, I got it, and we'll handle it after.
Yeah, and he took me to dinner after. Literally just my best friend, was my shoulder to cry on through everything, and he knew, like, what I was going through with different people, so he had, I guess he had the right to say what he said. But when he said it, I had a heart attack. I just read the text before this too. I was like, wait, no, like let's at least try. Like I gotta at least give it a try and see what happens. And
that went well for 2 weeks.
Yeah, I had to say it like that.
Yeah, well, everything was good. 2 weeks go by, and of course, I leave to go home for Christmas break. That camera cut off. It's all good.
We don't need this.
Yeah, it's good. So 2 weeks go by, and we're supposed to go to a Russell Dickerson concert, and we get over there. It's all good. We get back to Monroe, or I get back to Monroe. I'm getting ready to go down to Lafayette to go to this concert with Claire, and next thing you know, she tells me that she doesn't want to be with me anymore. And I'm literally in Lafayette. It's the day of the concert. And so I just get on Fortnite, start cranking 90s, and
it was a bad move for me. Like,
yeah.
I don't know what I was really thinking. But in my head, I remember thinking, if I bring him to this concert and we dance and we have a good time, like, I'm going to have to fake it. And he might think, like, it's more than what I'm feeling. And that just made me, like, it was too much for me. And I said, I'm just going to break it to him now. That was my thought process behind that. Okay. All right.
So anyways, we ended up breaking up in December of 2018 after 2 weeks. So I go back home for Christmas break. We don't see each other the whole Christmas break.
Barely talk to each other.
Yeah, barely talk. And get back in January, and then all of a sudden we just decide to start talking and hanging out again.
Yeah, we see each other.
It was like the most random thing ever.
Super random. I guess we missed each other's presence, and he was my best friend, and we just started going to dinner again. I started hanging out with him at the apartment. Nothing crazy, like just being us again. And things changed all of a sudden. January
2019.
January of 2019.
Go in a little bit of the story how everything changed. So we started hanging out again, and we went to a rodeo. Then Dustin Saunier came and played at your house. I came, all your family, all your friends were here and everything. So that was kind of a big deal. And then
but I think I remember after this, there was one night I told you, like, we can't keep doing this again. Like, we're falling back into the same pattern. Like, we were in a parking lot. He was dropping me off at my car, and I was like, we're doing it again. Like, we can't keep doing it again.
Yeah. So I was like, okay, all right, whatever. So anyways, I get out of her car, and I'm leaving to go back to my apartment. And I literally pull out of the parking lot, drive for about 5 seconds down the road, and I'm like, nope. So I whip that thing around, pull right back up. Thank God she was still parked right there. I don't even think you noticed I pulled up next to you. I opened the car door.
I was just not ready to go home. Like, I was just gathering my feelings. I heard his loud truck leave. He had this loudest truck. And then I didn't hear it come back. And then he just knocks on the door. It just scares the heck out of me. He knocks on the door. And he's like, open the door. And I was like, what? He was like, open the door. I unlock it. He gets in. He's like, I'm not leaving. I'm
not leaving.
I was like, are you serious? Like, what? And I'm laughing at this point. I'm like, this dude is crazy.
I am.
Like, he literally said, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving like that, and I'm not leaving you like this. I'm not leaving.
Can I get a come on?
And I remember thinking, wow. Like, wow, he's serious.
That was a big moment.
That was a big moment. And
it was kind of like, I don't know, we still weren't talking. We weren't anything official. Like, it was just like, that was the moment where I was like, okay, you're not going to shake me. You know, like, I don't care how bad you try to shake me. Like, I'm going to just keep trying till I can't.
Yeah. And I think I remember him saying that. I think after we finished talking or whatever, like before this, I remember he sent me a text and he was like, maybe it's just not our time. He's like, I'm not giving up yet. He's like, I prayed on it and I didn't want to, but I prayed on it and I feel like God's telling me not to give up. He's like, he's just saying, like, keep pushing. And I remember thinking, oh my God, this dude, like, he is seriously not going to stop. And then this happened and he was like, I'm not leaving. And I was like, oh my God. But what do I do?
So the turning point, like the big turning point was Kelvin's.
The end all be all.
Yeah.
This is my end all be all.
This was like the point of no return. So I was friends with a girl from class and like literally we were just friends. And I remember I was playing Fortnite. It was late one night and she was like, hey, we're going to this bar if you want to come meet us and just hang out. And I remember like all my friends had just gotten off PlayStation. And so I was like the only one left online, which
I
if
didn't
you're
have nothing else to do.
Yeah,
I
if you-
couldn't play on PlayStation.
right. No, I mean, it was like the Fortnite golden era. So I was grinding with the boys.
All he did, literally all he did.
Yeah. And so, anyways, I go to this bar. I'm just sitting, like I'm not drinking. I'm just kind of chilling. I don't really know anybody, and we're just kind of hanging out.
And for those of you who are from the area, he's in Abbeville. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I have no idea where I'm at. I just go to this location she told me to meet him up at. I go, we're chilling. Everything's cool. Next thing I know, here comes Claire and her whole family walking into Kelvin's. And I'm like, well, this is kind of weird. And I knew that this girl had been at a engagement party or something like that.
Couple shower.
Yeah, it was okay. So it was a couple shower. I knew she had been at a couple shower, and she was like, "Hey, we're going to this bar. If you want to come meet us, I know you're not doing nothing." I was like, "All right, cool." So, anyways, everyone comes walking in. I never put two and two together. It was Taylor's couple shower,
My
and like
sister's
the after
couple
party
shower
was at Kelvin's.
at Kelvin's. So at the couple shower, everyone. So I'll take you back a little bit. Tell you my side. At the couple shower, everyone was there. Everyone started to leave. I remember we were in the bathroom and one of my sister's friends was like, because, I mean, it was a process of getting married. Like, Taylor was going through the whole shebang. She found her husband, and I was starting to feel like I want to find someone. Like, I'm ready. And one of Taylor's friends told me, Claire, before you go to bed every night, you look in the mirror and you pray to God and you say, I want this in a man. I want this in a man. I want him to be like this. And when it's him, I need a specific sign. And you ask for a specific sign. I was like, all right. This is the long story short. She leaves. Taylor's friends leave the bathroom, and Taylor is my older sister. So all her friends leave, wrap up, whatever. And then I look in the mirror and I said, all right, starting now, because I had a few drinks. So I was like, starting now. I look in the mirror and I say, I want this in a man. I want this in a man. I want this. And when it is him, I need the sign. Like, I need to know in my heart that this is what you're sending me. I said, okay. I walk out the bathroom and my dad looks at me. He said, all the girls are getting an Uber and they're going to Kelvin's. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'm ready to go home. And Dad's like, no, we're all going to Kelvin's, getting the Uber. I get in the Uber with girls like I do not know. And I start heading to Kelvin's without my family. My family was coming later. So we pull up and I don't know, we're getting out of the car. I remember I walk in to Kelvin's. And the first thing I see is the back of Caleb. Like, his back is to the door. And it's the same hat he always wear. I remember it was a gray jacket, a black shirt, a black hat, and jeans and boots. And I'm going, my heart just stops. And then the second thing I see is he's sitting across from a pretty little blonde girl that I have no clue who she is. Literally no clue who this girl is. I guess I should have known. She was just at my sister's couple shower. And I was like, oh my God, he's on a date. And then my heart just like immediately feels like, oh my God, like this hurts. And then that's when I realized, shoot, I really like him. Like, I really don't want him to be on a date right now. And then I grab my sister's friend's hand. I'm like, I need you to walk me right past that dude, like almost make my shoulder touch his, walk me right past him to the bathroom. I was like, because I feel like I'm literally about to my pants. I was like, I gotta go to the bathroom so bad. Like, when I saw Caleb, I literally just, I don't know, my whole body just felt weird. And then, so she walks me right past him. She gets me to the bathroom. She turns me around and she goes, he's coming. And he literally hopped up off his chair and he was walking straight towards me after me. And he taps me on the shoulder and I turn around. He goes, what are you doing here? I think I said, what am I doing here? What are you doing here?
And I said, dude, I just came to hang out. Like,
this is, I think I kind of got mad. I was like, this is my sister's couple shower. Like, everyone here is from my sister's couple shower. Like, what are you doing? And yeah, I guess I was kind of salty because
you were like being mean to me. And I was like, dude, this is like, I don't even know where I am. I'm just here.
I'm like, but you're here in Abbeville, like where I'm from, on a date. like ruining my night. Yeah.
And I was like, dude, I literally didn't do anything.
I remember walking up to my sister, the one that was getting married, and I was like, Caleb is here. And she's like, do not be a B. Like, do not be a bitch to him. She was like, be nice. He's just here. And my dad was like, seriously, Claire, be nice. And I was like, I need a drink.
Yeah, and like all this time, like none of this is actually happening. Like, she's not actually being mean. I just remember being like, she's acting funny.
Yeah, like I'm just...
You being sassy.
Yeah, just being me. I was just being me and like trying to probably see like where his head was.
Yeah. So anyways, night goes on. We all have it was a fun night.
Really fun.
Really fun night. Everyone has fun. Mm-hmm. And the girl that I was there with did not have a ride home. And she was like, hey.
She had a ride home. It was just Caleb.
Well, yeah, I was going to take her back to her house. So anyways, Claire was like, hey, do you want to stay with me? And I was like, yeah. And she was like, okay, well, I'm leaving. And I was like, oh, well, I got to take her home real quick, which I think she lived in Abbeville. Like, it wasn't very far.
I don't remember the story going like that. I remember you being like, hey, I'm leaving. Are you coming or not?
I had to take her home first.
I know, but then I remember you saying, I remember me saying go, because I was pissed you had to take her home. And I was like, you go take her home. If I'm here, I'm here. Like, I'm still here.
Yeah, you did say that. And I was like, okay, like, yeah, where else are you going to go?
I could have gone home.
Yeah, but I was going to take you home. I knew it was all good.
He was pretty confident.
I didn't want to just leave her out to dry. Like, she invited
yes, he was
me
being
there.
a gentleman. And in all reality, yeah, I wasn't going to wait on Caleb to come back.
Yeah, I knew better. Anyways, so and I take her home, come back, pick up Claire. We go to her house. We stay there, and it was just like...
We go to his house. Yeah. We stay there.
Oh, okay. And it was kind of like the rest was history from there. Like, the rest of the year, everything's going good.
That was December of 2019. He asked me to be his girlfriend. February of 2019. Yep. And it was all good, all chill. December of 2019 rolled around. We had a pretty big hiccup.
We had a big hiccup there.
We spent...
We kind of broke up.
Yeah.
Like, honestly.
Yeah.
And we were broke up for like, it was like another 2 week spurt.
2 weeks, yeah. He went home for Christmas, back to Monroe. I stayed here from Christmas. It was not easy. It was super hard on both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2 longest weeks of my life. But I'll never forget them. He came back and he said, I'm taking you on a trip. And my crazy butt said, yeah, I'll go on a trip with you. And I did. Yeah,
so we went to Santa's Wonderland in College Station, and that is a blast.
I mean, there's not much to say about, like, the rest was history. We never broke up again from there. I just remember heading home from College Station, and we were driving, and he grabbed my hand on the dash, and I was still a little, like, not on edge, but like on edge, like still kind of protect my heart. And I remember he grabbed my hand and he looked at me and he was like, we're going to get married, huh? And I was like, oh, I was like, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? And he was like, yeah, we're going to get married. And I was like, all right, Lisa's head's in the right space. Like, let's do this. And we did. 7 months later from that time, we got engaged. 7 months later, we got our together, and we got engaged in July of 2020.
Yep.
Middle of COVID. We did it.
Middle of COVID. We got engaged, and that was like probably the most stressed I've ever been trying to pick a ring. That's so
worth
stressful.
The stress. You nailed it.
Yeah, I did do a good job.
It was an heirloom ring. It's from his great grandfather's wedding band. So
they had it molded.
It means a tremendous amount to us. So we got engaged, and then 11 months later, in June of 2021, which was also a very stressful time. I don't know if it was a stressful time for you, but for me, it was super stressful. We had a wedding planned in June 25th of 2021. This was in the middle of track season. Well, this story is happening in the middle of track season, and I knew when track season was over, I'm going to get married, I'm going to go on a honeymoon, and I'm going to live the rest of my life with Caleb. We're going to do our thing.
Into the sunset.
Yeah, we're going to do our thing. Psych. God said, nuh-uh. What was it? April, May?
Yeah, we were at April. That casino.
April 2021, I'm throwing at Alabama. The throwing. Everything's going good, whatever. It's my last throw. I'm going to give a little shout out to Maria right here because I'm throwing in the 160s. I think I just threw 167 or 165. Maria, who's going to be on the podcast next, I really hope she's on it next week. She comes up behind me, and she's a freshman, okay, like true freshman. I think she might be 17 because she's young. Throwing at Alabama. She comes up behind me, throws 161. And I'm like, oh. Like, and then everyone's cheering for her, whatever. It's getting hype. I'm super excited for her, and she's excited. Like, I could see it in her face. She's never thrown 160 before. But the significance of that is I never hit 160 until I was fifth year senior in college. Maria did this as an 18-year-old freshman, which is huge. Anyway, so she hits this, and I'm like, oh, I better put in I better put some oomph behind this thing right now. Like, we gotta get this done. And Maria's heard this story plenty. She knows. So I'm like, all right, last throw. I remember on the runway, I was like, all right, God, I was kind of worked up. I was like, God, just put your little hand on mine. Just ease it out. I said, and we're about to throw this bitch. We're just throwing it. So I let it go. And I'm thinking, it feels like 160 something. I'm like, ugh. And I literally do that. I go, ugh. I walk off the runway. I look at Maria. And she said, Claire, that thing went. And I was like, no, it didn't. Didn't feel good. My coach had said it didn't even look good. And then the board says 175 feet. Best I've ever thrown in my life. And that was a Sunbelt record at the time, a school record, yada, yada. So I leave. I left. I went to the casino with my parents and Caleb, and we're like celebrating. We're like, we just threw 175. I know some of y'all might know not the significance of 175, but that's like top 10 in NCAAs. And we're having a great time. I get a phone call from my coach, and it's pretty late. And he says, hey, when's your wedding? First thing he says when I answer the phone. Hey, when's your wedding?
He knew.
Huh?
He knew.
He knew. He knew when the wedding was, yeah. So Coach Terry, if you're listening to this, this is the story. I said, it's June 25th. Why? And he goes, dang. And I'm like, what? What's wrong? He's like, I think you just qualified for the Olympics. And I was like, what? Like, I don't know, that never crossed my mind. Like, I guess I don't know. Never crossed my mind. I said, wait, no, the Olympic trials. Sorry. Ryan didn't correct me.
I didn't know what he said.
The Olympic trials. And I said, wait, really? He said, yeah. But javelin throws on June 24th in Oregon, in Eugene, Oregon. And I was like, no. What? He was like, yeah. He's like, it's okay. You know, being the coach he is, he's fully supporting my marriage. He's like, it's okay, though. And I was like, let me call you back. Hung up the phone real quick. I remember we're getting in the elevator. I look at my dad and I look at Caleb. I was like, I just qualified for the Olympic trials. And I was like, it's the same day of my wedding. And Dad was like, what? And Mom was like, dang, that sucks. Like, my mom just immediately wrote it off. I mean, my mom has never been an athlete, so I think the only thing she thought about was...
She didn't realize, the significance of it. But when she said it, I was like, oh, well, I mean, we're moving the wedding. Yeah. Like, it was never a question in my mind what was happening. I was like, oh, well, I mean, it's not a big deal. We'll move the wedding. Which is kind of ignorant on my part because it's like, I'm not a girl, so I don't really know how those things work. Which is hard to move a wedding, especially we're having a destination wedding. Yeah, and that was my mom's first reaction. She was like, because, like, I wasn't huge into the wedding process because I was also an athlete at the time. So my mom was kind of doing a lot of it. And I'm sure the thought in her mind was moving a dang wedding like 2 months before the wedding was like, hell no. Mm-hmm. And then I looked at Caleb. He's like, no, call him back. We're going to move the wedding. And I was like, wait. And then, I mean, I realized when we got into the room, I was like, this is a decision I have to make. Like, Mom took me in the bathroom. She's like, this is completely up to you. It's not what your dad wants you to do. It's not what your husband wants you to do. It's what you want to do. And I remember thinking, okay. And then I get out of the bathroom. Caleb's on the phone with his mama, and he's like, we're probably going to have to move the wedding. And I was like, oh, like, this is crazy. Long story short, we moved the dang wedding. We moved the wedding up 2 weeks. We got married June 5th,
a week after regionals. So I threw at regionals in Jacksonville, Florida. I got married a week later in a Meet, Louisiana. The week after that, I had my bachelorette trip after my wedding because I was supposed to get married after. Then the next week, I threw at the Olympic trials in Eugene, Oregon. The next week, I went on my honeymoon. We flew directly from Eugene, Oregon to Breckenridge, Colorado. We had the best honeymoon, which it was all super enjoyable because the Olympic trials was off of me. The wedding was off of me. Literally, I had nothing to do but just enjoy my time with Caleb.
It was like 4 or 5 straight weeks to where we were not doing anything but just like, it's probably the only time until we retire that we're ever going to be able to do that again. Like we were traveling, doing stuff, experiencing things. Like that month was unbelievable.
Yeah, because after the honeymoon, we got home, we packed up, we went to the beach for 2 weeks with my parents.
Yeah.
Just me and my parents, just us and my parents. It was just, like he said, 4 weeks of just a time I'll never forget. Super stressful, but we were all over the country and I do not regret any of it. I'm so glad I moved the wedding. I'm so glad I went to the Olympic trials. Like, that was like one of the best experiences of my life. Marriage was too, like getting married, but that was so cool. And Caleb got to come with me. Caleb and my father came.
That was awesome.
And then that ended. We came home. Caleb at the time, I'll let him wrap it up we're living, he wanted to say the...
Yeah. So, my dream my entire life was to be a Navy SEAL. And this was all during this time. This was in the works. Like I was training, I was getting ready, and redo it. So I'm getting ready to go to basic training, buds, and everything. So I get into what's called the DEP program, where basically you qualify for a contract. So I get a SEAL contract. After training, I don't know how long I trained, like 2 years probably. I'd been training for like 2 years and finally got in the DEP program and finally got my contract, and I was crushing things. Like things were going way better than I was expecting them to. Like I was one of the leaders in the program and everything, and like it was going great. And so I get my ship date to get ready to leave, and everything is going like perfectly according to plan, if not better. And so I'm like super fired up. Like I know how hard I'd worked. Everything's going perfectly. Like you couldn't draw it up any better. And one of my petty officers calls me in to the office one day. So I go in, and he says, "Hey, man, I got your contract in today. I just need you to sign everything." And I'm like, okay. So he tells me what my date's going to be. I'm fired up. It's in April. And I'm like, okay, well, it's a little bit later than I would like it to be. I was going to have to wait a little bit longer, but it was all good. And I get to the part where it's talking about pay, and it was like
substantially less.
Like basically in half. The loan repayment program got shut down. They weren't going to pay for my college loans. My pay was going to be like really, really, really low, and I wasn't going to get a signing bonus. Like a lot of things that I was promised were just like totally out the window. And so I just kind of thought they messed up on the contract. And I said, hey, like none of this is on here. We need to rewrite it up or something. I didn't really know how it worked. And he was like, oh, no, man, like I need to talk to you about that. And he just told me like special operations was kind of moving in a different direction. They were taking a lot of the bonuses away because basically the war in Iraq was over. And the loan repayment program was being taken away for SO, which is short for SEAL operator. And I was like, well, I'm not signing this today then. I need to kind of reconsider because this is like very, very financially, changing. So anyways, I went home, thought about it. And I guess after a week, I was just kind of like, if something doesn't change, Like, we're going to have to, like, I'm going to have to step away from this. And so I told my petty officer, I said, look, we'll give it some more time to kind of see if things change and go back to how they were. And I'll keep training and I'll stay in the program and everything. But, like, if it stays like this, I'm going to walk away. And he was like, man, I totally don't blame, and I'm not going to name him because I'm sure he could get in a lot of trouble for this, but he was like, man, I totally don't blame you. And so anyways, a little bit of time goes by, nothing changes. And so eventually I just had to step away from it. And after I stepped away, like 6 or 7 other guys stepped away. It was like kind of life altering for them too. And,
this was a huge change for us.
I had no backup plan. Yeah. Like, no backup plan whatsoever.
And the choice he made to be a Navy SEAL, knew he was leaving in April, also led me to make different decisions because, I mean, I knew come April, like, my husband wasn't going to be around, which ultimately I made the decision. COVID took away a year of athletics for me. And after the Olympic trials and everything happened, my coach contacted me and he said, look, we want you to come back. We got everything covered. Come back. Throw one more year. And Caleb, being the super supportive husband he is, he was like, do it. He's like, have no regrets. Do it. Go back. Throw one more time. Go to the dang Olympics. Like, do the whole thing. He was like, I'll be in California, like, rooting you on. And, it's making my throat tight thinking about it. But I made the decision to go back into javelin. So it actually was a cool time for us because we were constantly in the gym together. We were working at a gym. We were always working out, training. I was trying to better myself for javelin. He was trying to better himself for the SEALs. And I was going back for another year, year 6. I was married, 24. Caleb was leaving to go for the Navy SEALs. I was training for javelin. It was a cool, to me, it was like what?
Very unique.
Yeah, time in our life and as a couple. But it was stressful, and I knew it hurt Caleb's heart when, and I'm not going to say I was like super upset that like he couldn't do this. Like, I mean, no young.
She was upset for me, but she wasn't upset for us.
Correct.
If that makes sense. Like,
no young wife wants their husband to just.
Yeah, no doubt. And I understand that. And like, man, I don't know, for probably about a month, I was in a pretty bad place. Like, just mentally and emotionally, just I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was 24 years old, had no idea what I wanted to do with my life now. Like, my dream was just, I felt like it was stripped from me.
We hadn't even been married for a year. Like, we'd been married for...
Like, I don't know. It was probably the lowest point I've been in my life, mentally and emotionally. And trying to figure out what I wanted to do, I started thinking of some jobs that I didn't want to do but paid pretty well. And so I had a couple of phone interviews, and really I could have got either one of those jobs that I wanted to. And then I found out about a producing job for a hunting show. And I always told Claire, like, because she said, how do you know? And I was like, because nothing else has ever come available. I said, but if I could work in the outdoor industry and do something like that, like...
He said, that's the only thing
I would consider doing over being a SEAL. And so I found out about this opportunity through kind of a mutual friend, Craig Fitz, used to be on Trained Assassins TV. And I had no experience, nothing, applied for the job, Slade Priest, now my boss, mentor, etc. He hired me just basically because he knew I would work really hard, and the rest was history. Now we're here.
Yeah, and it's great. Truly happy for him. And the plan is Caleb now lives in Centerville, Louisiana.
No, St. Francisville.
Oh my God, Centerville. That's in Mississippi. Staring at him, and I got confused. St. Francisville, Louisiana. Caleb moved there in March. My season started in March. This feels like ages ago, but we got a rent house there. I had to stay in Lafayette because I was still on the track team, which in all reality, he was going to move to California. So I was like, oh, St. Francisville, cake. Like, go do your thing, dude. So he left. He went to do his thing. And as soon as track season was ended, as soon as I went to World Championships, just kidding, I was going to move to St. Francisville. So we're seeing each other on the weekends. If I don't have track, sometimes I'm driving at midnight to go get a glimpse of him for a couple hours, and then I'm coming back. Like, we're doing the whole thing. I get on the bus. I go to Mississippi State. Y'all know the drill. Ruined my knee. And then that really threw a kink in the plans, because now we're still not living together, and it is September. I'm going to therapy 3 times a week in Lafayette. He's doing his thing. He's about to go on all sorts of trips hunting. So that's the story up until now. We're seeing each other on the weekends. I drive up there sometimes during the week if I don't have therapy or some kind of rehab going on. We make it work.
Yeah, it's not easy.
No.
It's tough.
It is.
But I mean, it's very temporary.
Yeah,
and as soon as you're able to move over there, it's going to be very, very different.
Very different. So, yeah, the weekends are fun. The weekdays are super productive.
Stressful. Long.
Yeah. Feels like we don't see each other for a while, but it's working, and we'll know once the knee is all healed up, we're going to be good to go. We're going to be solid. We're going to be in the same place. So that's where we are now. So we're recording this podcast before he leaves tomorrow.
Yep, because I'll be going to Colorado on Friday.
And I'll be doing my therapy.
Yeah.
There we go. And posting this podcast for y'all. So we just hit the 1 hour mark, 1 hour and a minute. I did not plan on this being that long, but
nope.
we got ahead of ourselves. But we really hoped y'all enjoyed this, and thanks for listening. I guess that's all I have to say. I'll end this with saying one thing, because it's super important to me. I do not think I would ever would have been the athlete I was, would have been the wife I was, would have been the person I am today, like the kind of like the, I don't want to say I'm like daredevil, because I'm not. I get nervous to start new things, and if something challenges me, it stresses me out. But I would not be doing what I'm doing. I would have not been the javelin athlete I was. I would have not been going to the Olympic trials and doing all these things if it wasn't for the partner I picked. And I think I knew that about Caleb from early on, that he was a go-getter, and he literally supports whatever I say, and he did it as a friend. Like the day I said I want to start a podcast or I want to do this, he's like, do it. Like, not once does he say, why you want to do that? Like, why you want to? No, he's like, and I think that's super important in a relationship, because my life would have been really different. My athletic career would have been really different if it wasn't Caleb standing by my side. So choose who you surround yourself with, because that really makes a difference in your life. Like, the closest people around you change everything.
100%.
100%. All right. You got anything else to say?
No, I feel honored to be the first guest on Behind the Balance podcast.
Yeehaw.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. We're taking steps to create a beautiful, balanced life. Love you guys.